Welcome to Arts in the City. I'm Magali Laguerre-Wilkinson, and as the summer winds down and the kids head back to school, we have a few gems to share with you this month that'll help you ease into fall. It's September, so that means a new season of plays hits the stage. Beth Kovetz meets up with a team of artists bringing a life to Playwrights' Horizons.
I caught up with the playwright at the world-renowned drama bookshop. What is A Life about?
A life is about a life. It's actually it's simple. A life is about a gay guy who's in his 50s who is trying to figure out why he hasn't got what he's wanted in life. Why doesn't he know better? Or why doesn't he, then something big happens and I won't tell you that.
It's about everything. It's sort of about life. It's about a guy trying to figure out the world and love. It's an immense little play.
I think A Life gets at the emotional landscape of what it is to be middle-aged in a sort of shocking way. I think that we need to be pushed out of our comfort zone. I think that's part of the problem of being middle-aged. And I think that the play does that viscerally.
If it's about someone middle-aged, why would she cast someone so young?
Bach's work is charming, a little absurd, and often funny.
And sometimes his work is so charming, absurd, and funny that it's easy to miss the larger implications.
When we write about great men or we write about important people, what we're kind of doing is a little bit anti-democratic in a way. We're saying that these people are more important than those people. We're making this hierarchy happen. And I don't like it. It makes me feel like what we're teaching ourselves is that, no, that life is bigger, because that person has done more, or that person is better liked, or that person is more appropriate, then easier to worry about them, easier to put more money towards their needs, easier to, do you know what I mean?
Right, it has significant political implications.
It does, as to who gets talked about, whose story is told. I mean, I think a lot of artists are saying, okay, we've spent a lot of time looking in this area, why can't we look over there?
You have a lot of lucrative offers in film and television, but you still keep coming back, not just to Broadway, but to off-Broadway and experimental houses. What's the draw?
I come back to the theater and I come back to off-Broadway and specifically Playwrights' Horizons because it's where I started. It's part of my DNA, it's my development as an actor. I would feel unfulfilled if I didn't get to exercise that part of me. Next season, I'm going into Hello, Dolly, which is a very traditional, as traditional and spectacular as you can get in musical theater. So A Life, for me, is a wonderful opportunity to explore how theater works in exactly the opposite way.
I think that theater is where the gray area is, because in our culture and in our society, we're so black and white, and we have to be in order to move forward sometimes. And theater is the place where contradiction and complexity is reintroduced.
I tried writing a novel, and so I sat and I banged away at it, and I got something like 65,000 words. I was like, you have to keep writing. You have to write and write and write and write. Plays I like because, one, I only write my part. The actor's going to do a bunch of it for me. So it's actually writing with absence. You know that you've got to leave space. And that's one of the challenges of it. That's why plays can be, if you have an imagination that really works hard, plays can be fun because you're like, oh, and then this is happening, and then this is happening. But just reading them, you're like, it can feel like something's missing. Well, because the actors are missing, the movement's missing, the sound's missing, the environment's missing, But I like writing that.
A Life opens September 30th at Playwrights' Horizons. This has been Beth Kovetz for Arts in the City.
Over in New Jersey, the new season is heating up at the Paper Mill Playhouse in Millburn. Donna Hanover takes us on a tour of the Tony-winning theater.
Look at me, I'm the king of New York. Disney's Newsies was a Tony-winning Broadway smash and is now on a national tour. But the popular musical debuted right here in Millburn, New Jersey at the Paper Mill Playhouse. And in June, the acclaimed Playhouse was recognized with the Tony Award for Best Regional Theater.
Oh my God, it was so fantastic and so exciting, and in many ways, a complete surprise. It was one of the most exciting days I've had being in this business. It's just, you know, the ultimate confirmation of the work we're doing here at Paper Mill.
The theater opened in 1938. It is now a 1,200-seat house with a wall of fame that includes a host of well-known stars who have performed on the Paper Mill stage.
This is some of the great history of all the people, many or a few of the people who have worked here at Paper Mill over the years, and there's great, you know, Christine Ebersol is here, Betty Buckley, Colleen Dewhurst, Liza Minnelli.
Todd Schmidt is managing director at the Paper Mill and is well-versed in its history, but keeps a sharp eye on the future of this beloved playhouse.
Well, we're really dedicated to fostering musical theater and, you know, hopefully creating great and brand new works of musicals to go on. But we're really also deeply embedded in our community.
Having a rich theater history allows the Playhouse to assist aspiring actors of all ages in perfecting their craft through outreach initiatives and hands-on learning experiences.
What kind of education happens here for up-and-coming artistic people?
That's a really good question, because we have education programs for everyone. You know, a lot of kids may never be professional actors, but they come to us and they'll get training in traditional kind of theater techniques, theater games, improvisation, voice, speech, movement. Our real goal is to train kids into understanding themselves and each other better and making them better human beings.
Pre-show nerves are ever present, especially when mounting a new production.
Well, it depends on the show. But there's always those feelings of how will this do, how will an audience receive it? But it's a nervous excitement. When you've been in the business and you're a professional, you live on that. It's that adrenaline kick you get right before opening.
And Paper Mill producers are not ones to shy away from touchy subjects.
Do you ever do any difficult material?
Absolutely. And it's interesting. We just did A Bronx Tale, which is, starts with somebody being shot and murdered on stage. The language was full of words that we don't generally hear here at Paper Mill. And I find all of those kinds of things, language or subject matter, if they're done artfully and they are there for a reason, audiences accept them. We have the same level of talent, the same designers, the same directors, the same sets, choreography, costumes. It is a Broadway show right here in Millburn, New Jersey.
Among the shows planned for the upcoming season are The Producers, The Bodyguard, A Comedy of Tenors. These are all part of the Paper Mill Playhouse's aim to provide stimulating and great entertainment. I'm Donna Hanover for Arts in the City.
Our very own Trekkie, Andrew Falzon, decided to visit the Star Trek exhibit at the Intrepid. Beam him up.
Space may be the final frontier, but standing on board this life-size recreation of the USS Enterprise can help you get in touch with your inner Trekkie. It's part of an exhibit here at the USS Intrepid to see if you have what it takes to join Starfleet Academy.
Fans from all generations will appreciate the hands-on journey that is the Starfleet Academy experience. Ships from all sizes are on display, as well as props from the actual shows.
When you come here to the Starfleet Academy experience, you're going to be immersed in the Star Trek timeline. So you enter, you're welcome to Starfleet Academy, and then you go through a series of experiences and quizzes.
Cadets can scan an injured Klingon officer in sickbay and learn how to fire a phaser. You can also take home a free souvenir video using the storied Star Trek transporter. Hardcore fans will appreciate facing the infamous Kobayashi Maru simulation while sitting at a terminal on the bridge of the Enterprise.
They've told me how fun it is, how breathtaking it is when they walk into the bridge where we are now and they sit in the captain's chair. It's one of those moments where your breath kind of gets caught in your throat a little bit.
Also featured throughout the exhibit are various costumes from the TV show and movies, including Captain's Row, which displays the actual uniforms of Captains Kirk, Picard, and Janeway.
They're treated as artifacts in the Star Trek timeline. So it's not considered the costume that was worn by William Shatner. It's Captain James Kirk's costume from these years on board the Star Trek Enterprise.
If you want to visit Starfleet Academy at the Intrepid Museum, you've got until October 31st. That's when the exhibit leaves space stock. I'm Captain Andrew Falzon for Arts in the City.
Movies, you say? We've got lots and lots right here in New York City. And Tinabeth Pina goes behind the scenes with Troma Entertainment.
What do Guardians of the Galaxy, South Park, and The Toxic Avenger have in common? This guy, Lloyd Kaufman, and Troma Films.
Lloyd Kaufman and his company Troma Entertainment have been icons in the cult movie world for over 40 years.
Well, Michael Herz and I set up Troma in 1974 to give ourselves an opportunity or the honor of making a movie every once in a while that came from the heart, that came from our brain. We believe in the auteur theory of filmmaking, in which the director is the author of the movie and controls it and has something to say in addition to entertaining. And I think that is pretty much what fuels the kinds of movies we make.
Troma has produced, acquired, and distributed over 1,000 independent films, cartoons, and TV shows since its inception. Many of them are a mix of horror, comedy, and raunchiness that have catchy titles like Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead, Sergeant Kabuki Man, NYPD, and Class of Nukem High.
Where do these ideas come from?
The Toxic Avenger, Romeo and Juliet, Sergeant Kabuki Man, NYPD, Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead, Squeeze Play. They all come out of the current events of the day. Squeeze Play was aimed at young people, and it was made both to entertain and support ERA. Kabuki Man was all about the backlash against racism in the United States Congress and public, anti-Japanese. Toxic Avenger deals with the environment. In the 70s, my wife and I were always camping, and there was garbage everywhere. The underlying theme there is environmental, and it's very prescient in how it's predicted the world would turn.
Troma also has a knack for predicting up-and-coming talent. Many of today's major stars, directors, and writers began their careers in Troma movies and are still Troma aficionados.
We had a little luck, now we want a little more.
Many of the people who are fans of Troma keep us in the public eye. Trey Parker and Matt Stone stuck me in their movies, and James Gunn stuck me in Guardians of the Galaxy. So that helps us in terms of keeping the Troma brand alive in the head of the fans.
The fans also enjoy seeing an eclectic cast of characters who solely exist within Troma's films.
They all live in Tromaville. Toxie lives in the dump. Kabuki Man lives on the waterfront. There's Tromy the nuclear rodent that keeps appearing. So there is a Troma universe. Troma is also very efficient with Sergeant Kabuki Man NYPD. We had somehow managed to create an amazing car flip. We reused it in Romeo and Juliet. So now the fans want it, and they expect it. There might be a new twist to the car flip, and you've heard it first on CUNY.
Troma is constantly innovating, and this past year they started premiering new movies online through their streaming service, Troma Now, adding new groupies to their rabid fan base, and in the process maintaining their mark as the longest-running independent movie studio in North America.
How have you managed to remain truly independent after 42 years?
Troma is a brand, and that was part of our business plan. Make movies at a low budget so you don't go bankrupt, and then make the film we believe in. Make something that is truly unique, one of a kind, and our business plan has worked. There are lots of independent studios that pop up, and they make very good movies, some of them, but they can't get the movies to market. They can't make a profit. And if you can't make a profit, most people give up. At Troma, we don't give up because we love movies and we love what we're doing, and we are the herpes of the entertainment industry. We won't go away.
For Arts in the City, I'm Tinabeth Pina.
I'm Ari Goldberg at Murray's Cheese. But we're not just heading into the shop, we're heading into the cheese caves. Follow me.
Technically, It's not a cave, but we imitate the environmental conditions of a cave. The things that we want to grow, the molds, the bacteria, they thrive in more humid environments.
PJ Jankalunas is the cave manager for Murray's Cheese. And to enter the complex with him, you need to suit up like you're walking into a top-secret laboratory. If you don't keep the cave sterilized, foreign bacteria and mold on your hands or your clothes could get in and affect how the cheeses age.
Some of our softer cheeses, camembert-style cheeses, they could be ready in a couple weeks. Some cheeses in here are aged up to a year or two.
So how much does one of these blocks weigh?
These ones right here are about 100 pounds.
A 100-pound block of cheese. That is wonderful.
And a lot of that cheese ends up at Murray's flagship store in Greenwich Village, where I finally got to eat some. Lisa Griffin is the associate director here.
Murray's Cheese, well, we are the oldest cheese shop in New York. We've been here for 75 years now. We just celebrated our anniversary. Very exciting. We started right across the street. Murray Greenberg founded the store right when it was just a small kind of mom and pop cheese shop. And 2 owners later, Rob Caulfield, took it over. And we've just become such a wonderful neighborhood kind of cheese haven. We try to sell cheese, but also everything you could ever want to eat with it at the same time.
For the sake of thorough investigative journalism, I assume we'll have to try every single thing here before we leave, right?
Whatever you like.
Just
We're
for the
happy to
story.
sample it. I'm happy to
Not personally, just for the
right,
story.
right, of course. It's a tough job, right? Okay, so when you taste, you really always want to also smell it at the same time. 80% of flavor is actually from your sense of smell. So before you put it in your mouth, definitely give it a little whiff. We have a lovely goat's milk cheese from Vermont called Bon Bouche. Maybe a little barnyardy, a little goaty, but nothing crazy. It's a younger cheese.
You had me at barnyardy. This does feel like almost going to a wine tasting. There's so many layers of how to try something.
Well, this is actually one of my other favorite parts of my job besides talking about cheese and eating cheese and helping people find cheese. We have classes here every night. And I love teaching classes. We have classes about wine and cheese, whiskey and cheese, beer and cheese, cheese 101, mozzarella making, and just to talk about it, eat it, let people learn how to taste it.
So for wine, they have a sommelier.
Correct.
What do they have for cheese? Is there some special title?
Well, we do, the American Cheese Society every year has an exam that they give, the Certified Cheese Professional exam.
Cheese Professional.
Correct, and I did take the test last year and I passed it. So
There you go.
I am a certified cheese professional.
And they really do know what they're talking about at Murray's. With classes taking place virtually every night, experts like Lisa make eating cheese even more fun than it normally is, beyond just what you'll find in the deli case.
When you have a wash rind cheese, those are the cheeses that people usually think of as like the feet-smelling cheeses. They tend to be more pungent.
So we're going from barnyardy to feet smelling.
Yeah.
It's a nice step up. Okay, I'm in.
All right. We have at any given time around 250, sometimes more, given the
250
season.
individual different cheeses.
Individual different cheeses, and yes, I've tasted every single one. That's usually the next question.
Many of these cheeses are shipped directly from local craftsmen or imported straight from France or Italy, but many of their favorites come straight from their own creations back at the Cheese Caves.
How many different cheeses are you guys making here?
In our caves, right now we have roughly 40 cheeses in it.
40 different cheeses in these caves.
Cheese is really made, it's a very scientific process, but it's also made with a lot of love. So I really love to share all of those maker stories and talk to people about cheese, help them find something that they're gonna love as much as I love it. Cheese brings people together.
From the Cheese Caves at Murray's Cheese, I'm Ari Goldberg for Arts in the City.
It's nothing political, but Barry Mitchell is still feeling the burn. Watch.
I see fire as a living, breathing thing with its own spirit. It can be a trickster.
Tara McManus eats, sleeps, and breathes fire.
You're manipulating a very volatile, very dangerous element.
Even her hair rises up in a symbolic red flame.
I'm Tara McManus, and I'm a fire performer and fire educator.
Tara owns the Floasis in Bushwick, the first FDNY permitted fire arts school in the city.
I want you to keep practicing the posture. My students range from performers. I've taught people who are retired school teachers, people who work in offices, and creatives. Some of them want to be professional fire performers, and some of them see this as a hobby.
I started out as a belly dancer. The other belly dancers had palm torches, and my boss said, well, why don't you do some fire?
Fire performing and fire spinning is an ancient art that goes back to the Maori tribe. They're credited with being the first known fire spinners as a form of entertainment, got introduced with circus. Nowadays there's a resurgence of the hobby aspect, which we call flow arts. Nightclubs have been introducing aerial acts and other acrobatics, so fire is following suit. I like to produce big shows with my students. I've done plenty of private events, birthday parties, weddings, corporate events.
Tara stresses safety. Her students get a thorough education in handling different kinds of fuels.
For fire breathing, I recommend the paraffin lamp oil, just a laxative. It's not deadly if swallowed.
And while a singer or magician can perform anywhere,
can't just walk in and do what I do. I have a lot of homework with the fire department, getting all the paperwork.
in fact, the performer and venue must be FDNY certified. You helped put this course together for the FDNY.
Yep. If you go to get your certificate of fitness at the main office, you'll get 20 questions, and all the questions come from this document.
And for fashion and safety on stage, Tara created a line of specialty apparel for men and women.
This is one of my designs for Third Earth Fireproof. It is my clothing company for fire performers. It's made from natural fibers and inherently flame-resistant fibers. This is another shrug. And again, it has the thumb holes, and it's 100% cotton, so if it catches on fire, it'll turn to ash, but it won't melt into your skin. When you come here and you see people learning together, it forms incredible bonds. When people face their fears together, they bond immediately. It seems to be people who are trying to express something that your average avenues didn't seem to express for them. That was very good.
And then it was my turn. I tried to joke my way out of it. I'm in the hood.
You're in the hood.
I'm in the hood.
All right, we're gonna do a tongue transfer. Take a deep breath in and hold it.
You wanna make sure that your tongue, the back of your tongue is closed on the back of your mouth.
There. Your tongue was just on fire. Yay.
Tara McManus, Floasis. If we want more information and if you want to learn how to eat fire,
go to thefloasis.com.
Barbecued tongue. Barry Mitchell, Arts in the City.
If you're feeling poetic, Anne Riddell may have just the place for you. And it's free.
I dwell in possibility. The words of Emily Dickinson echo through and on the walls here at Poets House. Nestled in Battery Park City, this poetry library is more than just that. It's a quiet space, open to the public for free, and a vibrant celebration of words.
You can walk in off the street and have a great poetry day spa here.
Executive Director Lee Brissetti explains Poets House is truly intended for everyone.
You can see a National Book Award winner doing research, and there's a high school student just looking for a poem for a class project, and they're working side by side.
That sense of inclusion is part of the foundation here at Poets House, quite literally. When the space was under construction, actor Bill Murray visited the site and read, you guessed it, poetry to the workers, who appeared both amused and moved.
What's this gal's name again? Oh yeah, Emily Dickinson. I dwell in possibility, a fairer house than prose, more numerous of windows, superior for doors.
Bill has been a wonderful friend to us. We thought, wouldn't it be fun to really have the construction workers understand what they're building a little bit more and have some sense of what this place is going to mean.
Though everyone is welcome at Poets House, this is also a home for those who practice the craft of poetry professionally. Rico Frederick recently completed the Emerging Poets Fellowship here, which includes writing workshops and mentoring.
I have friends who, when I say I'm a poet, they're like, oh, dude, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
What I do for a living is write my feelings down professionally. And that's what I do. I'm a professional writer of feelings.
Rico shared some of his work with us, including part of a poem about his mother during an illness several years ago.
On May 12, 2010, I sit next to the only reason I believe in God. She knows that one day a reaper will slide a rosary bead through her bones. She is refusing to wear a coffin.
And so what was your mother's reaction when she heard you read that poem?
We cried. We hugged, we talked. Poetry opens up a gateway to conversation that I don't think normally you would have. And so after she heard that poem, we sat down and we've had more real conversations about my life, how I grew up, her struggles in raising a young black man within this community.
A gift given and received through the power of poetry. Carol Anne Riddell for Arts in the City.
That's our show for today. For more information on any of our stories or to watch them at any time, go to CUNY.tv. I'm Magali Laguerre Wilkinson. See you next time on Arts in the City.